Hello, welcome. This is Seewing Yee, and today's episode, I'm going to talk about the best location to buy a investment property. It's the number one fastest growing state in the country for a while now, and number one, number two, or even number three in population growth. It's the most populous state in the country. It's located in the Sun Belt and is number one in migration for a number of years. And the place is very affordable. It cash flow for real estate investors. So drum roll, please. I'm sure you know what it is. But for most of you, if not, please drop your comments below and share with me what are your thoughts. And then I'm going to take a very deep dive on specific locations for real estate investors, especially mom and pop real estate investors, to buy a rental property for long-term wealth building. So without further ado, let me share my screen and let me go through this most important benchmark. Okay. The most desirable type of property is 1 to 4 units, single family home, duplex, triplex, and fourplex. This is it. This is what I call the buy box for real estate investors. Why? Because historically speaking, these type of properties have achieved the greatest return on your investment, and especially when you buy new constructions. And also 1 to 4 units, you can qualify for the most favorable loans, which is the Fannie Mae lending guidelines. All right. So without further ado, now I'm going to share with you, don't worry about the location, even though it has been clearly stated on the upper left-hand corner. But this type of property is the benchmark, is the blueprint for success. New construction in the path of growth. So this is the number. This is the most desirable numerical benchmark that you should strive for. So the single family homes, I'm not going to talk about the duplex. If you want to talk about duplex and triplex and fourplex, just multiply by 2 based on the numbers here. Do your apple to apple comparison. If you want to buy a triplex, use this number right here and multiply by 3. And if you wish to buy a new construction fourplex, which we have those available as well, you multiply by this number, which is the average purchase price, by 4. And similarly, just go through the simple mathematics. So I'm talking about single family home is a benchmark. The ideal price point is approximately the mid 200s. As you can see, in this case, is 269,000. Anywhere from mid 200 to high 200K. And if you look at the upper right-hand corner, the benchmark is the rental value is almost 1%, which is amazing. Capitalization rate, as you can see, very desirable. Cash on cash return almost at a double-digit return, and total ROI the first year at a great 32% when you factor in all the calculations in terms of projected appreciation at the end of the first year, annual net cash flow, and the tax benefit, all those kind of things. The first year will provide you with amazing 32% total ROI. So I'm not going to go over the numerical formulas that much. Suffice to say, if you can, the rental value ratio is 0.07 to 0.08%. If you can obtain a gross monthly rent before deduction of approximately $2,300, anywhere from $2,000 to $2,300, it meets the criteria, because if you're able to get a 25% down payment on a mortgage rate for investor, usually you pay higher. But if you do not have any loan reduction program available to you, then you would normally, because today's mortgage rate is around 7%, but for investor is 7.5%. Without any kind of builder incentive. But we have several products in several markets in Florida where you can get a 4.99% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. That's right. I did not stutter. Right. This is truly a game changer. So being part of our network, you'll have access and the resources available to buy a property in this allegedly a high mortgage rate environment and high cost of purchase in many areas of the country. You can get a new construction, great path of growth in several markets in Florida, mid 200K to high 200K, anywhere from gross monthly rent of $2,000 to $2,300 on the average. And then if you calculate all the monthly taxes, insurance, property management fee, whatever, you can achieve a monthly net cash flow anywhere from $2 to $3 to $4 to $500 monthly net cash flow as a starting point. So this is a great numerical true numbers. All right. So this is the benchmark we're going to use. So with that said, so you were asking where in Florida where you can achieve this type of purchases, what market and what resources and what have you. So I'm going to spend the remaining few minutes only to talk about the map. Okay. First, I'm going to share with you where not to buy, or how not to buy South Florida. I know South Florida has been achieving some amazing appreciation over time, very consistent. It's a robust market. But look, as a risk investor, we're talking South Florida, and South Florida is up and down this Atlantic coast. The prices are very expensive. The median price of a home is like $500,000 to $1 million. If you talk about condos in the best neighborhood in Miami, is multi-million dollars. Up and down the Gold Coast of South Florida, from Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale, this area is not for mom and pop real estate investors out there. They are the playgrounds of the rich and famous. So with that said, I'm going to bypass South Florida as an investment market for average investors like you guys out there. You can do these kind of things regardless where you live in the U.S. You have the ability to buy turnkey, out-of-state, almost passive investment properties, 1 to 4 units, and using a turnkey approach, using a great turnkey providers and builders that will provide you with this off-market opportunities. So the key is buying in the sub-market, buying in a path of growth, suburban growth. That is the key, all right? In fact, let me exit this slideshow. All right, so getting back to this. All right, so the next area is like 4 or 5 years ago. Listen, 4 or 5 years ago, a single-family home, new construction in good areas of Florida, for example, Central Florida, Southwest Florida, Northeast Florida, a medium-sized cookie cutter investment home that we all desire, like 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was only like $150,000 in the metros of Tampa, Cape Coral, Southwest Florida, and Orlando, and a few other areas. 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years ago, is $100,000 to $150,000 new construction homes. Now, because of the skyrocketing of home prices in the past few years as a result of the pandemic, these homes have double in value, triple in value in a mere few years. Mind-boggling for those investors that have purchased 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago in those strategic market in which we are offering. By the way, we've been doing this for 20 years. We have taken our out-of-state investors from various locations in the U.S., especially from California, to buy turnkey cash flow homes and many of the great strategic locations. But things have changed so much, so it's not prudent anymore to buy in the inner core of this metros of Orlando, Tampa, and a few other places. That's how it is. So you have to go to the sub-market. Again, we had a lot of investors who bought new construction single-family homes and 1 to 4 units a few years ago, but now is no longer affordable. The median price of Orlando single-family home, like 1,300 square foot, right now is already at $400,000, something like that. Don't quote me, but I'm just giving you a high-level scenario. Same thing. A few years ago, when our investors were buying in Tampa, the single-family home rentals, at that time were like $200,000. Now, like $400,000 to $450,000. So the numbers simply does not make sense. As the beginning of this presentation, I already told you that if you can find a new construction single family home for around in the mid $200K that rents for $2,000, that is the blueprint. That is your buy box. Because in the path of growth in a suburban submarket beyond the metros, that's the key for investing in this challenging Florida real estate market. As the migration and a population growth and job growth, we're talking baby boomers, retirees, and millennials are all flocking into Florida, not only in the past few years, but in the past law for a long time since we've been investing in the Florida real estate investment market. Follow the path, follow the growth, follow the suburban sub location. All right. So no longer we are the numbers, the cash flow does not make sense to buy in even in the 50-mile radius of Orlando. Similarly, same thing with Tampa. I don't care what you've been hearing. The numbers that you cannot cash flow if you continue to buy within 30 to 40 miles within Tampa metro, because the median price for single family home, 1,400 square foot, is already like $350 to $400 to $500,000 in the inner core of Tampa. And similarly, down here in Southwest Florida, Cape Coral, yes, there are still pockets of Cape Coral. You can still buy the mid 300s, and the rent is around 2,500. So still some neighborhood you can do, but you have to go 3 miles, an hour and 15 minutes beyond the core metros of Cape Coral, Southwest Florida, beyond the core metros of Tampa, and an hour in several directions above Orlando. And finally, Jacksonville, same thing. It's not prudent for risk investors to buy in the inner core of Jacksonville because the prices have skyrocketed in past few years and the rent is slowly catching up. You can't do it. Once again, you have to buy into the suburbs, the path of growth, like an hour into different directions from Jacksonville. All right. So again, that's the whole idea, because one of the fastest growing area are in the Gulf Coast region. Amazing. The Gulf Coast region of Florida, especially along the coast, especially around from Tampa, Clearwater, St. Petersburg, Sarasota, down to, all the way down this corridor right here, which is a stretch of several hundred miles. Those coastal homes that we're talking $500,000 to $1 million and beyond. So therefore, they are not for turnkey cash flow investors because the prices have escalated so much. The numbers does not make sense. And in fact, we still, don't get me wrong, Southwest Florida is still robust. So we're buying way into the suburbs. Look, some of you are thinking, look, Naples, look at Naples down here, like 45 minutes below Cape Coral. Naples, 3 years ago, the homes were about $300K in Naples right here. Now the typical homes around $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, multi-million-dollar homes in Naples, Florida, up along the coast. I would not recommend for anybody, regardless of prices, because of the weather hurricane situations. You need to buy 30 miles inland in the higher elevation, not subject to flooding. And when you buy new construction, the cost of insurance is still very manageable. So that's the criteria that we use. So let's get back to Cape Coral again. Right now, again, going back to the blueprint I just shared with you of a new construction single family home, for example, of around mid 200 or the high 200K, renting for 2,000 to 2,400. That's a benchmark. And let's start off with Southwest Florida. And the best place to go is to buy way into the suburbs, Lehigh Acres and LaBelle. We're talking 45 minutes to an hour beyond the coastal Cape Coral, Fort Myers area. That is where the numbers make sense. So follow the builders, follow the build-to-rent builders that we are connected to, whereby we have seen an amazing migration of people, the locals from these areas and from out-of-state migration. They are moving into this area because the inner core of these metros in Florida are the path of growth. That's where everything's new commercial, construction, retail, traveling industry, a lot of jobs. That's the key. All right. So LaBelle is way an hour and 10 minutes, almost in the central here, away from Cape Coral, Fort Myers, LaBelle. We have those price point I just shared with you. The ideal Lehigh Acres, same way. And of course, an hour above Cape Coral is Port Charlotte, Northport, and Inglewood is the areas that we are migrating. We are following our builders to buy these great cash flow homes, new construction as it becomes available. All right. So that's done with Southwest Florida. Let's go back up an hour and 15 minutes north into Tampa. Again, we have investors who purchased in Tampa a few years ago, and they're doing very well. They have achieved massive appreciation and rent increases. needless to say, but the path of growth. So the numbers does not make sense. The rent, you can't cash flow buying in the inner core of Tampa anymore. So you have to go either an hour and 15 minutes to the east or to the northeast or to the north. So we have new construction, single family home that can cash flow, get you this 4.99% mortgage rate. Amazing. We have to go way up here an hour and 15 minutes into northeast of Tampa, which is Citrus Springs. We may not even see it on a map. Hopefully to find somewhere over here, Citrus Springs. We have some opportunities there for very reasonable, affordable homes for our investors to buy. And then we have opportunities in Ocala, which is right here, like 30 minutes northwest of Villages, which is the largest retirement community in the country. So here it is, right? Ocala, right here. See Ocala? One of the fastest suburban growth area right here, Ocala. So these are the path of growth in the Central Florida, northeast. Like Ocala is like an hour and 15 minutes north of Orlando. As you can see, Orlando down here. And we no longer recommend our turnkey cash flow out-of-state investors to buy in the inner core of Orlando anymore because the prices have increased so substantial. You cannot cash flow with 25% down payment any longer. All right. So here in the north, so in Ocala, we have some great new construction opportunities. We have Citrus Springs right here, which is so hard to find. Anyway, I'm not going to search for it, but so we have several market opportunities up here north of Tampa and an hour and 15 minutes north of Tampa and hour to hour and a half northwest of Orlando Metro. All right. And the final areas that we have opportunity for new construction, especially we have some new builds fourplex in outskirts of Jacksonville and at a very reasonable cost, like $759,000 new construction quad fourplex that will cash flow very nicely with a 4.99% mortgage interest rate. So you can have with 25% down payment, you can cash flow almost $1,000 monthly net cash flow on this new build fourplex. And of course, the way in the suburban growth, we have some opportunities for new construction, single family homes and duplexes in Palm Coast. As you can see, Palm Coast is like 1 hour, a little bit more than 1 hour below Jacksonville along the Atlantic coast. Palm Coast is, as you can see, look in the map, Palm Coast is like an hour and a half from Orlando Metro, Atlantic Ocean coast, and about an hour drive below Jacksonville. So Palm Coast is also a nice path of growth for out-of-state turnkey investors who want to cash flow with 25% down and what have you. All right. The other areas we're not going to discuss too much. The Florida panhandles are somewhat isolated. It's not that huge. It's a vacation resort town for the most part, although Destin and Panama Beach is really nice. There's a lot of the weather conditions are not all that great in northwest of Florida with the hurricane, all that kind of stuff. So we don't have any market penetration in those areas. As you can see, we have some great strategic locations available for investors. So the recap is follow the new construction builders because builders are building into the suburbs. You follow because they have done a lot of the research for you. And we're talking, again, population growth, job growth, migration growth from the locals and from out-of-state migration from people from all over the U.S. are coming here. People from California are coming to Florida to invest and to live and to retire. People from Northeast, people from New York, the state and in upper Northeast. People are escaping the cold. They want sunshine. They want sun-built living. If they become a resident of Florida, they do not have to pay state income tax. So there are so many. Florida is still very affordable. I just gave you some very specific details, a deep dive on the very strategic areas of Florida where investors, mom and pop investors like you should pull the trigger in light of this challenging housing market environment. That's the whole key because the rental market is very strong. There are many people are priced out of the home buying market. So a lot of these people cannot afford to buy a home these days because of skyrocketing home prices occurring in the past few years throughout the country. and higher mortgage rate. So a lot of those people cannot buy a home for themselves. They have to rent. People have to live somewhere. So you're just buying some great, the best locations in the country, anywhere. The benchmark I just gave you, 250, 280K, new construction, single family home, renting for $2,000 to $2,300. Tell me where else in the country you can find anything like this. Again, to recap, Florida is the number one fastest growing state in the country in terms of population, job growth, migration of people from other part of the country and other part of the world. So this is a great time to purchase. You have some great builder incentive available to you. We have a builder that cater to investors only. They are off market housing investment opportunities. People in my network, you have purview to these kind of resources that virtually no one in the country has. So great time to in times of crisis to our opportunities, and today's are no exception. I gave you a very high level deep dive into the specific path of growth submarket in the best growing part of the country, and great cash flow, great numbers, great long-term appreciation potential. So what else can you ask for? So anyway, so if you receive a lot of value from this presentation, please smash the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also, if many of you are already a member of my organization, you're getting a lot of great information. For those of you new to my channel, please visit my website and drop your email into the form to subscribe to my weekly turnkey real estate investor newsletter so you can learn more about these type of opportunities. We have markets, we have network, we have relationship with other turnkey providers from other markets as well, not just Florida. We have a turnkey provider from Central Texas, South Texas, and in Alabama, Tennessee, and in the Midwest as well. So anyway, thank you. Please make a comment below. If you are a potential investor, tell me what you're trying to do. I'll be more than happy to answer a lot of your questions. If you are a savvy investor already, share with me whether you agree with my assessment that the best opportunities are located in the submarkets of Florida. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you on the next video. This is Seewing Yee. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.